Good morning, everybody. I am Ryan with Great Lakes Storm Chasing Network. Going to have a little bit to talk about here. Should be a pretty quick video, but an important video nonetheless. So, if you recall back to the last pattern setup that we had here in the region, we were looking at it very closely, and we just got done with that pattern. We had about 11 tornadoes in Illinois. We had about 5 or 6 additional ones in Ohio as well. So, fast forward now, we're kind of in a lull for a few days, which is great news for those of you who have storm anxiety and just get a break for once. This has been a pretty active year, but overall, this is going to be ramping back up here into the last part of April. And that is going to give us more chances for not only storms, rain, but also potential for severe weather and perhaps tornadoes as well. So, breaking this down a little bit further, we do have a very rare, we don't see these very often. We have a pretty rare day 7 SPC outlook here that bumps into the region for Western Illinois here. This is going to be for Friday, April 26th. We're still about 6 or so days away from this happening, but the Storm Prediction Center has pretty good confidence to issue this outlook well in advance here. So what that's going to do here, the overall pattern, should I say, sets up pretty well for a couple storm systems to move on through the region. And with those storm systems, we're going to have potentially, more than likely, moisture and instability and stuff like that coming together. And with these low pressure systems, there's usually some amount of wind shear that gets overlaid with that instability. And that's what causes our severe weather chances, for a very simplified explanation, that is. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. So let's go ahead and dive into a few of these models here to get an idea of what's upcoming. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in here to the GFS model. This is one model we use to determine long-term forecasting and stuff like that. So we look at the temperatures here. We're a little bit on a colder side of things. We actually have some snow showers in Wisconsin and Michigan today. Didn't expect that, but lo and behold, we have some snow again. But what's a Great Lakes winter or spring without a few late season snowflakes, But moving forward into the early and mid parts of next week, we're going to see a big warm up here back into the 50s, 60s, and more than likely 70s coming into the region here by Tuesday. The further south you go towards the Ohio River Valley, the warmer it's going to be. The further north you go, the colder it's going to be. That's how it usually pretty much goes here. But watch what happens here out to the west here, starting about mid to late next week, around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday period here. We're going to watch a cold or a low pressure system out here develop right around the Thursday night, Friday morning time frame. We're going to see that develop here. This is April 26th. And that's going to be the focus here for round 1 of potential severe weather here in the region. So we're going to move that forward here. We're going to see it develop, and we're just going to kick to the east as we get into the late Friday evenings. And that's going to drape a warm front across the region here and a cold front back here. The combination of that will likely drive instability and moisture further to the north here. I guess this is just one model run. We have multiple models here we use that we look at here. All of them are supporting this idea of round 1 would be on Friday or so of that late next week, should I say. And that's why you see the SPC risk here extended all the way up into Iowa and Illinois here. So we do have a pretty good correlation there of wind shear and instability, but that's not all we're looking at here. We look at the long-term pattern here into the next weekend, into the early parts of next week, not this week, but like we're talking like 8, 9, 10 days away here. We have another system we're going to watch even stronger that moves in right out here into the plains here, gives us another warm front draped across the area that could be stationary for a day or two. And that will also drive instability and also a trigger for storms. But we see a return here into the mid 80s. We're going to have probably more than likely our warmest temperatures of the year sometime around the late April timeframe, April 26th, April 29th timeframe. But what that's going to do is that low pressure moves off to the east-northeast. It's going to bring that warm front further north and a cold front that comes crashing through. And the warmth there, coupled with the moisture, is going to cause a high amount of instability, or at least it's possible that it could. We're not going to say this for sure. It's still a good ways away. But this pattern has been forecasted pretty well by most models here. We kind of have to hop on here and talk about it to get you guys aware of this, but that's going to come through again right around April 29th. So we're going to see probably multiple days of potential severe weather starting April 26th, which is going to be a Friday, which you already have that day 7 risk from the SPC already there in place, but that's not going to be the only threat. We have multiple threats here setting up. So we overlay instability and our wind shear together. We get a correlation of our colors here. It's a composite we call supercell composite. We're looking at this into that time frame here. We're going to see a good correlation out to our west here, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa. And that's going to move off into the region here. There's our warm front drift across Indiana, West Ohio, Central Illinois here. And then we see a good return back here on Sunday, which is April 28th, back out west. And then that kind of continues into Monday and also puts a pretty good coloration there across most of the region, even Michigan, Wisconsin getting up into those areas of interest. So the broad takeaway from this is we're going to expect a very active pattern to set back up between Friday, April 26th, and then into the weekend of April 28th, 29th area. Past that time frame into May, this pattern does still look to stay active. Now, getting into May, our confidence for the entire pattern goes a little bit further down. But overall, we don't see any spectacular changes with the overall pattern. So we're expecting an early and we've already had an early season. We're expecting that to continue into early May here as we get into the peak season. Here in the region, though, peak season is really June, July, August. So we're not even to the peak season of severe weather here. We've been getting this really early in the year, and that's not going to slow down into early May. It doesn't appear to be. So next chance of severe weather, storms, rain in the area, April 26th starting, and then it'll continue through April 20th, maybe 29th, should I say, into maybe April 30th as well. It's going to adjust sometimes. We're not going to have specific areas and specific hazards in areas. We're just looking at the pattern and going, all right, it's going to be active, and severe weather would definitely be on the table here with this pattern. So that's the takeaway from this. But again, we do have one area of concern here that the SPC has put a day 7 risk out for Western Illinois. This is likely going to shift around a little bit. It's still, like we said, 7 days out. Our confidence on exact timing, exact hazards, exact areas is kind of low, but the pattern and the overall synoptic system would support potential for severe weather, not only for Friday, but Saturday, Sunday, Monday as well following. So active pattern coming up. But that is all I have for you guys. So if you guys got questions, feel free to drop those in chat right now. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and hop off here, and we'll have a post out a little bit later on this evening for those of you who cannot hop on here and watch. But we're going to be advertising this as an active stretch of weather once again, as we did with this past stretch, which did have a couple of we had 11 tornadoes so far confirmed in Illinois, and we had at least 5 or 6. I think we had 5 in Ohio as well. So Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin did not have any tornadoes, but they still had a couple areas of severe weather. I know in southern Indiana had a few wind damage reports as well as power outages. Michigan, the exact same thing. They have some hail reports up there as well. So overall active pattern coming up. You think we should leave Indiana? I mean, this is just active pattern. We're going to have probably in the coming years, a few years that are going to be below average. But this is just one of those seasons that we've been looking at and saying this is going to be above average. And it's been shaping up to be such. You know, it's lived up to its expectation. Hopefully next year is a little bit less of a concern for severe weather. I mean, the pattern next year would definitely support a bit quieter season if it continues to trend in the way it's going. But for right now, we are stuck in an active pattern. Yeah, Vincent, everybody in the region, really, if here in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois region, the states we cover, this is why we're on here covering. We're live on all 5, or actually 4 of the accounts here. We'll be going live on the Michigan account later on. More than likely, probably this weekend, but or later this weekend, Sunday, or tomorrow night, should I say? It's our stream for Michigan. But if you're anywhere in the region, this is going to be an active pattern for you. We can't really get specific with exact areas just yet, but we do have multiple chances that it does appear to be for every state here. So that's why we're going live on every single state account that we have. So yes, the short answer, Jeannie, is yes, you should pay attention, but don't get too concerned just yet. I mean, we had a couple days we looked at on the previous active stretch we had a couple days ago. The initial models suggested that we're going to have widespread, multi-state stuff, and ended up having, 2 states that got really hit pretty hard, Illinois and Ohio. So expect a similar result. But for us to come on here and say we're going to know exactly what's going to happen, that's impossible right now. But if you're in the region, yes, pay attention. We'll have updates, and as we get more information and confidence, we'll have updates for you. Of course, we'll be live here covering radar in areas that need it. We did Illinois. We had a tornado outbreak out there by St. Louis. We did Indiana, expecting that line to do us a little bit of something there. It didn't. Luckily, just some wind damage there. But we'll be live across our state accounts here covering this should the situation arise. What's in store for West Michigan? Like I said, we don't really know exact details yet, but definitely some models indicating severe weather is possible, even up into Wisconsin, Michigan areas further north. So at this point, pay attention. We're still 7 to 10 days away from this. The overall pattern is suggesting another active stretch of weather. So in that Friday, April 26th time frame into the weekend, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, pay attention. We'll have updates on our pages for you for exact areas when the time and the confidence increases. Hardly any wind damage in Indianapolis. Yeah, we had a gusty front go, or not a gusty front, but a gusty storm come through Indianapolis. The main severe weather the other night happened to be further south towards Vincent's and Bloomington. So Indianapolis there didn't really get on the action, but you did have some pretty gusty winds with one storm that came through, just not significant enough to be severe. No problem, guys. When a tornado is on radar but not on the ground, are there downdraft? Okay, so when we see a confirmed tornado on radar, that pretty much is a tornado. Um, if we have a tornado on the ground that we don't see on radar, that happens a lot. So radar is not perfect. So that does happen, but there are some times here where we see what looks to be rotation, where red and greens look to meet. But if you animate it, it'll kind of spread outwards. That's a downburst. I hope that answers your question there, C. But when we see a tornado on radar, it usually 100% always is one. Jeannie, I don't believe I got the tag. I'll have to go back and look on that after I'm done streaming here. I'll make a note of that. But I don't believe I saw that. I may have. It's been a couple days. All right, so I don't see any more questions popping in here. So a quick recap. Active stretch of weather is upcoming here. We have an SPC day 7 risk out in Western Illinois. Likely going to shift a little bit as we head in toward the next Friday timeframe. This is only Saturday, so we still have quite a bit of time before we lock these forecasts in. But the SPC does have enough confidence here to issue the day 7 risk here out here in Western Illinois. But after the Friday, this day 7 time frame, we are looking ahead to an active pattern here, which we can see here overlaying our instability and our wind shear. We get this coloration here. So we have yellows, oranges, and reds look to be kind of brighter coloration where the greens are kind of lower. But overall, we see this moving into the region here all throughout next weekend. That's going to stick around for at least 3 or 4 days. So we're going to have probably a multi-day severe weather event once again, somewhere in that time frame, but exact areas are just not known yet. But the models do show that the entire region has a shot right now, at least, to have severe weather. As we move closer to this time frame, we will lock areas down. We'll update you guys daily with this. So just pay attention to future forecasts from us, from the NWS, the SPC, and other valuable weather sources that you guys may watch. Just keep tuned to those and just expect an active pattern starting Friday of next week and continuing into the weekend, perhaps early parts of the next week time frame here. So I have a few more comments here. Went to Vincent's University, had rain-wrapped NATO hit when I was there. Vincent's is definitely tornado country. This year has been pretty quiet down there, luckily. But past tornadoes, yeah, there's a pretty good correlation down by the Ohio River Valley. Not per se around Vincent's, but around the entire Ohio River Valley in general. There seems to be an increase further south you go there. Is there a general standard that says whether or not Lake Michigan will fuel a storm system as it crosses Lake Michigan? So, Jas, that is a great question. One thing we watch closely are water temperatures. And right now, they are at record levels. For this time of year, we're not like talking 80s already in April. No, for this time of year, we're looking at record levels. We've had record levels of temperatures, but also records of low ice. So this year, Lake Michigan will be supportive of severe weather. Quicker than other years for sure. But overall, we watch the temperatures closely, but they're not a guarantee that they're going to affect how storms interact with Lake Michigan. It kind of depends on the type of system a lot of times. But yes, there are times where the cold temperatures of the lake can also affect storms. It all really just comes down to the type of system, really, would be the best answer for you. But it can go both ways. John asks, when do you think Michigan will get it? I mean, we are talking, 7 to 10 days in advance. So the model right now, if I had to say, would probably be Monday, April 29th. Watch that area closely, but there's also some potential here on the 28th of April, which is a Sunday. Going back here, it's just, there's multiple days that could happen, but that secondary system that comes through would probably be the best chance for Michigan and maybe even Wisconsin as well around that Monday 29th time frame. But this is going to shift around, so stay tuned to future forecasts. And this also shifts south too and miss Michigan. So why we're going live here is because the pattern is supporting active weather. We're not going live to say this state has a threat, this state has a threat. Not yet. We're just highlighting the potential here for severe weather and for an active pattern. The only state right now in a severe risk is for Friday, April 26th. And that's on your screen here for West Illinois. That's the only area right now in a designated highlighted area for severe weather. Yes, Christy, this is for next weekend, starting around Friday or so. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days there. We're kind of keying in on for next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend, 7 days, 7 to 10 days in advance here. We see the pattern supporting multiple days of potential severe weather. Do you think Indiana is going to get tornadoes? I think the overall system here, multiple days, would support some potential for tornadoes in the region. But to say Indiana, I mean, I can't get specific just yet. But the overall pattern, if Indiana happens to be in a threat, then yes, I would say that would be a possibility, given the type of system we're talking about here. No problem, Christy. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off here, work on a post here, and get that up on the pages. But the overall consensus between next Friday and Monday, so 7 to 10 days in advance, an active pattern sets up. We're not too sure on exact areas yet. Right now, models show every state, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, does have a chance to get in on some severe weather action. We'll lock details down closer to this time frame. So about early to mid next week, start looking for more so details to come out with exact areas, hazards, stuff like that. But right now, just kind of prepare yourselves for another active round, if not for severe weather, for maybe potential for flooding, rain, storms. But overall, the pattern would support severe weather somewhere here in the region, if not all 5 states. So with that being said, I'm going to hop off here and get to cracking on a forecast. But otherwise, you guys have a nice day. I'll go live here more than likely again tomorrow for an update if there's anything significant that's changed. But overall, stay tuned to our page, the SPC, NWS, and other local accounts that you may get your weather information from. Stay tuned for those future forecasts. So with that being said, I'm going to hop off here. You guys have a safe day and enjoy some cooler temperatures for the next couple of days.